Monday, Flosstube. Hello, crafty friends. It is Monday, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. You knew I had to do it. My name is Caroline. Welcome to my channel. Daily crafty chat at the moment happening. Mostly about cross stitch with a little bit of knitting tucked in, and some sewing, and whatever other craft I happen to be working on at the moment, because I love all the crafts. Okay, so I have a lot of crafty goodness to share with you today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the things that I worked on over the weekend since I last saw you on Saturday, and then I'm going to get into the review of the projects that I went back and had a look at from my very first episode, which was 3 years ago in July 1st, 3 years ago was when I started making videos. So I thought it would be fun to take stock of where I'm at with those projects that I talked about. So there was some progress on the big gray sock, so I'll start with that because it keeps me honest. I have not finished my gusset decreases, but I have done, I don't know, maybe 10 more rounds. And it's such a pretty yarn, so let's get it to focus here. There we go. I've probably done about 10 more rounds since I shared it on Saturday. So slow and steady. Slow and steady. I'm finally at the point where it stops feeling quite so awkward, you know, when the stitches are hanging off one way because of the leg, the weight of the leg. And I really prefer to knit on the small 9-inch circular for socks. So it's nice when it starts to feel a little more manageable, all of those stitches. So let's see. I think, how many decreases? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm over halfway done. I always do a really long heel flap, so I always have lots of gusset decreases to do. So it looks like I'm just over halfway done, which is exciting. And then it's just straight knitting all the way down to the toe. Race for the toe. So big gray sock, it's coming along. And I worked on my coffee in the morning with my mandala. This is the Ink Circles Thread and Eye mandala, and there definitely were enough of you interested in this pattern that what I will try to do this week is I'll try to send an email to, if I can, I'm sure Ink Circles, Tracy Horner, who is the designer behind Ink Circles, I'm sure she has an email, like a contact us on her website. So I'm going to hunt that down, and I'm going to send her an email saying, you don't know who I am, but there's a whole pile of us who were hoping, fingers crossed, that you might consider re-releasing this pattern, and perhaps she could pop it up as a PDF for sale on her website. So let me get to that. Hopefully I'll get to that this week, but I'll stay on top of it, I promise, because it's so pretty. So here's where I'm at. This was 2 mornings of 30 minutes each, so Sunday and this morning. Set my timer, had my coffee, so here's my smile picture. and when I'm all done, I'm gonna do a fun little zip through of the screenshots so that I can prove that I finish things. So I as you can see, I've been concentrating on the bottom here, a lot of that fill in there, and a few little bits and bobs of the brown when I had some leftover floss on my needle. I'm doing this with a combination of discontinued silks by Vicki Clayton and some DMC. The DMC color, the yellow color family, is from DMC. Basically, with this design, you pick 4 color families, and each of those color families has 3 shades, so a light, a medium, and a dark, and then it's kind of like paint by numbers for following the pattern. It's really quite clever, actually. I'm so happy to be back doing this. So I'm gonna come back to this in a minute because it features in video number 1. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, so I worked on 2 other things cross stitch wise, and first up is Savon. Now, both of these projects are still on my lap frames, so apologies that I'm not unrolling this, but you can see I made some decent progress on this. I didn't quite manage to fill in that center motif, but I did some more black fill in here, and I managed to stitch this motif and filled in up to there. So overall, I think some decent coverage on this last night. It was really fun. I find that now I am kind of, different times of the day seem to be working best for my projects. So the mandalas in the morning with coffee, and then the Hope and Strength stitch along Glendon Place is after dinner stitching, and then nighttime stitching when I'm starting to get a little bit tired has been Savon, because it's just you know, easy stuff. So Glendon Place, Hope and Strength. This is a free PDF download on Cheryl's website, glendonplace.net. She also has kitted up the supplies for it if you're interested. This is a 32 count jade Picture This Plus linen, and some really beautiful dinky dye silks, and there's going to be a ton of beads on here as well. But again, it's a free PDF download, so you can download it and stitch it on stash supplies, whatever you've got handy. So as you can see, I finished stitching the word hope, and I finished those 2 little snowflake flowers around the end. And so what I'm going to do next is work my way to the right, finish the 2 more snowflake flowers, and then I'm going to get to that lion. You know what else I'm super excited to stitch? I'm super excited to stitch all of it because the border is gorgeous, but also the birds. The birds, there's a big bird at the top and the bottom. And yeah, I'm looking forward to those as well. So what I might try to do tonight is maybe finish the next 2 moving outwards, the next 2 snowflake flowers, which are a slightly darker purple. And then we'll see. I know that I won't have quite as much time this evening as I had yesterday. So I told you about the supplies for that. The Savon is a pattern, that's this one again. I talk about it most days, so if you've visited with me before, you'll know this is, I'm sorry, it's very repetitive and probably a bit dull, but this is by Landmark Tapestries and Charts. It's called Savon, and you can find it on www.celtichobbies.com, and the owner of that shop, Claire, donates $1 from every pattern sale from both this chart and also the Amtrak chart by Sampler Cove. That is another one of my humongous projects. She also sells Sampler Cove patterns, and every dollar from every Amtrak chart and every Savon chart is donated to Muscular Dystrophy Canada. So isn't that nice? Thank you, Claire. Okay, so moving on. Now I get to talk about episode 1. So there were 7 projects that I talked about in episode 1. And so what I've done is I've taken a screenshot. I really hope I've got that number right and that it's 7 and not 8, because at the moment I'm going off my memory of when I took these photos on Thursday. So a lot's happened since Thursday. Speaking of which, my dryer is working again. I know, my dryer is working again. What was happening with, and I never even told you really what was wrong with it, because it's stupid, right? It's a dryer. There's a small piece of metal, probably you know, like the end of a tie from a sweatshirt, or you know, a pull from a zipper, something like that, something really small, had gotten trapped in between the 2 drums of the dryer. So when the dryer spinned, all you could hear was this really, really screechy metal on metal sound. Awful. So we knew it wasn't something electronic that was wrong with it. The dryer needed to be taken apart. However, the room that the washer and the dryer in is tiny. It's an old converted like half bathroom. And the doorway is like a little bit on the narrow side. So whenever we have problems with our appliances, John has to remove the frame of the doorway in order to take the appliances out to fix them, which is a ton of fun. So the dryer, he managed to somehow take it apart enough that he could pull the pieces out, and he cleaned it thoroughly, and it's working again. He was able to vacuum all the parts. He was able to, he said, and actually he said he was really grateful that this had happened because it had forced him to pull it apart and clean it, because he said there was actually a lot of lint trapped inside the mechanisms on the inside of the dryer. And as we all know, dryers can be quite dangerous when things like that start to build up. So he was very glad to have the chance to have it pulled apart, give it a thorough cleaning, put it back together, and it's working again. So I have a working dryer. Hooray! So yes, a lot has happened since Thursday, so I'm trying to go off my memory that there were 7 projects and not 8. I'm pretty sure that I'm right because I have 7 things here to talk about. Well, I have 6, because the first one I'm going to talk about is the Prairie Schooler red-winged blackbird. I finished that red-winged blackbird. So that's the first whip, and I'm going to put the screenshot of that whip in right here. So as you can see, I had barely anything done on that bird, and I'm not going to go into all of the details on all of these projects because I really did talk about them, I think, pretty substantially in episode 1. So if any other questions about these projects, just leave me a message below. But the red-winged blackbird, it was from Prairie School Designs, Prairie Schooler, excuse me, and it was a reprint from Hoffman Distributing, and it was a terrible reprint. And so I found the trick was I photocopied my chart and I blew it up by like 200% so that I could easily see the symbols on the chart. And I finished it. I finished stitching that blackbird, that red-winged blackbird, last year, the year before. I don't even remember, but I know that I finished it, and I cannot find it. I can't find it. And that is so frustrating to me because I'm pretty reliable in that I put my finishes in the same place because I layer them together like a sandwich, and then I roll them up and I put them in a pillowcase, and it's not there. Now, the only thing I can think of is that I unrolled that thing over a year ago with Kathy and her husband Neil, who were the owners of my old local needlework shop. They have since retired. But Neil was going to frame some of those pieces for me. And so I unrolled everything, pulled everything apart. We had a good look and, you know, a reminisce. And I sent him with 4 or 5 pieces. I'm sure I didn't send him with that little bird because I want to finish the other 3 before I frame them, because I want to frame them together. I can't find it. I cannot find it. It's clearly I've put it somewhere very safe and I can't find it. So, but it still counts as a finish because I know I finished it. One of these days I will find it, and it will be glorious, and I will share it with you here. So I just have to find it. So red-winged blackbird is the first project of the 7, and it is complete. Okay, next up, I'm going in order of what is complete to what isn't complete. Next up was the But First Coffee chart that I was working on from Lizzie Kate. And it's so funny because I remember so clearly stitching that and then finishing it. And I know this is on the screen capture of one of my really early videos. I can't remember, but I've been holding this out front, and I still have the same progress zipper pull on it that I had before. So this is my But First Coffee Notions pouch. So this is a Lizzie Kate chart pattern, and I finished it with, did I use the called for? I'm not even sure that I used the called for threads. I think I talked about it in episode 1, but it doesn't matter. This is the kind of chart that you could use anything from your stash and it would still look super cute. And I still have the same donut zipper pull on it because everybody needs a donut with their coffee. And I just finished it into this little Notions pouch. It's super cute, and it stores all of my threads for the Ink Circles Tapestries chart. You know that one? Remember that one? I started it as a stitch along with Ingeborg from A Stitch Too Far. Oh yeah, she finished hers miles ago, and I still only have the bottom little corner done. But it's okay, it's all good. It's all good. But I know where my threads are. They're in here. So, it's fine. It's fine. Man, so many projects. They're all so good, and designers keep coming out with so many more beautiful things. How could you not fall in love with cross stitch? I mean, honestly. So, there, finish number 2 of 7 from episode 1. Ta-da! Okay, I saved the biggest finish for last. I have shared this before, probably a few times now. And I'll pop in a photo right here of what it looked like in episode number 1. This is the Ink Circles Cercle de Circle, right here. Okay, so this was the biggest piece from episode 1, and it is complete. So, it is also stretched and laced. So, here you go. Ta-da! Isn't it? I mean, it's so subtly beautiful and gorgeous. Beautiful and gorgeous, both. And it's not until you get up close and you really look at all of those motifs that you can stare at it for ages. It's so beautiful. Okay, so this was stitched on a 32 count khaki linen. It was just a color that Kathy had in the shop that I fell in love with. And the thread is again a discontinued Vicki Clayton silk called Marque de Circle. Now, there was a very, very, very close match to that thread color, and it was Weeks Dye Works. I want to say Whiskey Jack. I might have the name wrong, but Whiskey Jack Weeks Dye Work was very, very, very similar in color and variegation to this particular floss that I used. So if you love it, you can kind of see that's right there is probably true. Maybe it's a little dark, maybe there. But it's so pretty. And yeah, I haven't had it framed, but it's beautifully laced if you want to admire the lacing. I didn't do it. It was Neil who laced it for me. I did, however, finally tackle lacing during Flossmas, and I laced that small little Noel ornament that my friend Patty Brake designed for Flossmas, and I did lace that myself. And so the next thing I'm going to tackle is something, maybe the mandala. When I'm finished the mandala, I'm going to lace that myself, because that's going to kind of be the next size up from the small ornament. I'll lace the mandala. I think I'm a little ways off from lacing something this size, but if I work my way up, then I'm sure I can gain in nothing but confidence as I go. So yeah, so project 3 of 7 and 3 that are complete. The next 5, again, 5 and 3 is not 7, Caroline. It's not 5, it's 4. 4, so it's only 4, which makes it sound much better than 5, doesn't it? I only have 4 projects that are not complete from episode 1. Let's start with the mandala because I've already shown it to you. So again, here's the first one up. Mandala, here's a picture of where it was episode 1. And here we are now. You all know the sad saga of this, and it's Phoenix rising from the ashes story. Quite literally, because I almost put it in the fire 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but now it's made a comeback, and I'm in love with it again. So awesome. So this is going to be my morning stitch with coffee until it is done. That's the plan. Okay, next up, in order of least complete to most. How about that? Maybe that'll work. Okay, least complete is the Little House Needleworks ABC houses. So here's where I was at. And almost 3 years later, here's where I'm at now. Try not to be totally underwhelmed. I completed, so I was in the middle of this house here. I completed that, and then I finished the next house over. And it has sat like this since last year. So it's really time to get started, I think, on the next one. So what I'm gonna do, once the mandala is finished, I am going to make this next block my morning coffee stitch. Okay? So that's the plan. Not the whole thing. I'm never gonna commit to doing the whole thing as my morning coffee, because I know myself too well, and I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't enjoy it. But I will enjoy doing one of the blocks, just like Frosty Forest. It's small enough that I can see that it wouldn't take me too long. Half an hour a day with my coffee, be a nice little treat. So that's the plan for this one. So that's 2 of 4. Next in order of completion, and it is wrinkled because it's been in my project bag since last year. This is the absolutely beautiful Quaker Diamonds by Rosewood Manor. And this piece is just, it's so beautiful. Oh, I'm supposed to show you where it was first. Sorry. Okay. And here's where it is now. So, there. Quaker Diamonds, Rosewood Manor. I did make it all the way over to the right side at the top. Very unusual for me to start in the top right corner of a piece. My usual preferred place to start is the bottom left, but on this one I started in the top. I am using a, which seems to be the case for many of my whips from this era. It wasn't era. Was a Vicky Clayton Silk conversion that she did for this chart, and I purchased it as a collection of threads with the key code that that Vicky herself did to convert this. And I know that there are some other floss designers now, like Mrs. Sadis is doing Sadis. It's on my list to purchase some silk from her, because watching Jan Hicks talk about her floss, it's definitely wanting to lead me down the garden path. But at the moment, I need to clear up a few whips, right? Who knows what'll happen. She posted some, Mrs. Sadis posted some of my favorite color like a month ago, 2 months ago, and I've been trying to avoid the website, but I think I might have to go and have another peek, because it's absolutely, it is the most beautiful shade of burgundy, merlot, cranberry. It's gorgeous, gorgeous. Anyways, Quaker Diamonds, and I plan on taking this with me up north. I really like working on this one at the cottage. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the lighting up there. possibly, because you know when you're in a different place and the lighting is a little bit different. So speaking of the cottage, if you're new here, the reason for the channel name Off the Grid Needlearts is because we have a cabin that is up north in Georgian Bay, and we are on a small island in the middle of Georgian Bay. I mean, there are many islands around there, thousands of them, and our island has 4 other cabins on it. My father-in-law purchased land on this particular island back in the 60s, and his principal residence is there on this island, and he doesn't live here in the winter time. So when he comes home in the spring and the ice is out, then he moves back to the cabin. Now he is about to return, if all goes according to plan, at the beginning of June, and will of course have to self-isolate for 2 weeks. So our plan at the moment, and you know, life at the moment is everything is a bit in flux, and you know, we have to kind of take everything day by day. But if everything continues to go the way that it's going, our plan is to move myself and the kids up there in like 3 weeks. So the 3rd weekend in May, and we have to really plan it carefully, because you know, you can't stop along the way. You have to make everything, and you have to go in one trip from here to there, no stops. And we also will continue to do the grocery shopping here in London. My husband will do the shopping here, and then either once a week or once every 2 weeks he will drive up and you know, sort of replenish our stock. And it allows me to care for my father-in-law, but from a separate household, because he through his generosity, we were able to build a cabin up there as well. So he has his cabin, and then 5 acres over, we have our cabin where we've built, and it's because of my father-in-law that we are able to have this place. And so because he will be self-isolating up there, and it's just him on his own, and we usually live there in the summer anyways, I'm going to be moving up there a little bit earlier than we normally ever would, and that way I can cook for him and deliver food, you know, to his porch every day or every couple of days, while he is self-isolating for the mandatory 2-week time period. So that's the plan at the moment. But you know, we have to be careful, as we all do, of everything that's going on, and so we're being quite careful with our plans. So, but at the moment, that's kind of what we're thinking. So Quaker Diamonds will be coming with me. That was a roundabout way of telling you about Quaker Diamonds, wasn't it? Okay, last but not least, the last project from episode 1, and the most complete whip from that episode, is the Blackbird Designs Loose Feathers seasons. So these charts have actually just been re-released. So phenomenal, because they are such popular charts, and I know that they were really on the wish lists of many stitchers, and so it's really quite wonderful that the patterns have been re-released. So I'll pop in a photo here of what it looked like in episode 1. And oh wait, I'm about to show you my little houses again. That's not right. Okay, now this is the right project. Here we go. Loose Feathers, Blackbird Designs, and this is where it's at now. May 2020 from July 2017. Oh, I need more time to stitch. Okay, so I fully completed the 2nd part, and I'm into the 3rd part. So this will be the next up with morning coffee once that little house is done. So the order will be Mandela, little house, Blackbird Designs. And then that will be 3 of the 4, well, let's say 2 and a bit, because the little houses, there's still 6 more houses to do. But still, this would be a big completion. And the mandala has been, you know, sort of weighing on my mind for the last little while. So that would be 2 substantial projects done, and a little bit of progress on Quicker Diamonds and the little house. I think that's good. And I have to finish my father-in-law's socks. So progress will continue on the big gray sock. Okay, that's it. That is it. I did receive some mail from Lila's Studio that I'm very excited to share with you, because it's been something that I have been itching to get. But I can't start it yet. I want to start it so badly. I want to start it so badly, but I have to finish something before I start something, because it's big. It's not small, it's big. It's really big. And Lila may have sent along a couple extra charts for giveaway. So if you are a fan of Lila Studios, you're going to want to come back tomorrow, because I am going to offer up the very first of 2 charts, 2 very special charts that I have from Lila Studios to give away. And what I'm going to do is, it's going to be a YouTube giveaway here. So you're going to need to leave me a comment on tomorrow's video once I've told you about it, and then I'm going to mail out that pattern 1 week from tomorrow. So you'll have a week to see it. And if you're a fan of Lila Studios, it's a really, really good one. You're gonna love it. I love it. And I so badly want to start it. Like I want to just, that's what I want to do today. I just want to put everything down and go and start it. And then I will alternate a little bit of Glendon Place, a little bit of Lila Studios, a little bit of Glendon Place, a little bit of Lila Studios. Wouldn't that be a perfect day? Some coffee, some Flosstube, then an audiobook. Yeah, that sounds pretty nice. But not today. I have other things to do today, and I can't start it quite yet, but I will dream about starting it. And sometimes that's almost as fun as starting it. It'll have to do for now. Okay, I need to get back to work. I need to edit this video and get it up so that we can visit together. I am going to put in a few more photos at the end here of what you are stitching, and emailing me photos of what you're working on while we visit together. I think today should be a little bit of a longer video, so that if you have a dedicated project that you only work on while we visit together, maybe today you'll see a little extra progress than has been in the last couple of days. We had our first, I think we had 2 finishes over the weekend from projects that I shared on here last week. The first one was Cheryl, who finished her ink circles piece, and also Rose H finished her Jeanette Douglas design that she was working on last week. How exciting is that? So I will put in a few new ones today, and you know, if you wish to send me a photo of what you're working on while we visit together, and the details of your project and your name, that I would love to share it. I love reading about what you're working on. So thank you for sharing that with me. And I know others have been enjoying seeing what you're working on as well. So, okay, I better get back to work. Time for a coffee and a little bit more work today. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Happy stitching, everybody. Take care.